Here. Cummins.
Here.
Fields.
Here.
Heatherly. Rodner.
Here.
Wheeler. Here.
There it is. There's Randy.
Yes.
Just need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Creedmoor. Yes. Cummins.
Yes.
Fields.
Yes.
Heatherly.
Yes.
Rodner.
Yes.
Wheeler. Yes. Motion passed. Okay, consider updating budget proposal from Director of Schools. Ms. Booth, if you will just go over option 4, because that's the only one that's going to get us to 2.1. So if you'll just go over what you got there.
Okay, I do want to add what I've said at the beginning of all this, to put it in context. We're facing a $2.1 million budget deficit, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we're committed to maintaining instructional equity while making necessary reductions to balance the budget. And I say that because under TCA 49-1-602, which is the state accountability requirements, it says all public school systems must meet financial responsibility standards and demonstrate fiscal solvency. Failure to address persistent deficits may result in state intervention or loss of discretionary spending authority. And this ties into the letter grades. If and when we have to go before state board because we have D's or F schools, we have to show that we are spending our money equitably based on the information that I have handed out at other budget meetings where each school earns different money based on their unique learner needs. So it is not just based on what a school system earns based on their enrollment. It is based on what they need on their special ed population and other unique learner needs. So in order to get to the $2.1 million savings, the additional cuts that were made were, we are sending back all our instructional coaches that we had. They will be returning to the classroom. The academic coaches will be returning to the classroom. Campbell County High School will be losing an assistant principal that was hired with ESSER funds, which is Daniel Sexton. They will be losing a Spanish teacher. They will be losing an English teacher. Campbell County High School, or Caryville Elementary, will be losing a nurse. Caryville will be losing an intervention teacher. Caryville Elementary will be losing a teacher for this, for a special ed group. Caryville Elementary will be losing an intervention teacher. Wynn and Elk Valley will be losing a school counselor. One of the proposals would be to combine classes and do split classes in our smaller schools with low student enrollment. For example, we have one class that has 5 students in the class and one that has 7 students. Those would be combined to be a split grade, which would still be lower than what other classes have for a regular class size. And I can explain those a little bit later, what schools those will be, and it will also be up to principal discretion based on enrollment on what grades they would combine. Elk Valley would, like I said, would have one class that would be split. It would be, they're losing Felicia Tackett, and another class would be split 5th and 6th grade science. Jacksboro Elementary is losing 2 intervention teachers. Jacksboro Middle School is losing 1 intervention teacher and an instructional coach. Jellicoe Elementary is losing an intervention teacher. La Follette Elementary School is losing 2 intervention teachers. Valley View would be losing 2 intervention teachers. White Oak would be losing 4 teachers due to class split grades. And if you, Crystal, if you want specific numbers on those grades, I can give you that in just a minute. Wynn would have 1 split grade. Central Office would be losing the mediation coordinator, who was Nancy Leach, working on a contract. Countywide, the assistant band director that was hired during ESSER, that position would be gone. There would be a special ed teacher countywide that was on contract, that would be eliminated. The coaching supplement, that was $40,000 for contracted services, that would go into make cuts and have savings. Countywide, another special ed coordinator. Jacksboro Elementary would lose an instructional coach. Jacksboro Elementary would lose a 4th grade teacher to make room for the instructional coach. Caryville Elementary would lose an instructional coach. These are the additional ones. La Follette Elementary would lose an instructional coach. La Follette Elementary would lose a 4th grade teacher. La Follette Middle School would lose an instructional coach. And La Follette Middle School would lose a librarian. And the total amount of savings from those cut positions would be $2,282,241. And if the board would like to look in their packet, there is a page that has the district enrollment. It is by school and by grade. And then there is another page that you have teaching staff only. It is the blue and white striped page. And it shows over the last 5 years the enrollment and the staff. And I want to point out to everyone, if you look at Jacksboro Middle School, it will show the enrollment from 2020 each year to the year 2025. And in the last 5 years, their staff has remained at 32 staff members. La Follette Middle School, they have dropped in staff from 2020, 35 staff members, down to 26. It also includes the enrollment. But one thing that I want to point out to show you the increase in teacher staffing across the district, Jacksboro Elementary in 2025 or 2020 had 523 students with 28 staff members. They currently in 2025 have 617 students and 31 staff members, because there are class size regulations on how many students you can have in a classroom. Valley View Elementary in 2020, they had 386 students, 21 teachers. In 2025, they have 455 students with 25 teachers. Caryville Elementary, in 2020, they had 459 students and 25 teachers. In 2025, they now have 655 students, causing an increase up to 32 teachers. White Oak Elementary, in 2020, had 125 students with 10 teachers. In 2025, they have 103 students and 10 teachers. Elk Valley in 2020 had 130 students with 9 teachers. In 2025, they have 115 students with 9 teachers. And when in 2020, their enrollment was 148 with 9 teachers. In 2025, they have 139 students with 10 teachers. So what we're seeing with that trend and why I picked out those schools, although enrollment is dropping in many areas in the county because we do not have zoning and students are not equitably distributed throughout the county, Caryville, Valley View, and Jacksboro are becoming overcrowded. They're running out of room and we're having to add extra teachers because students are exceeding class size requirements. And just the opposite is happening at White Oak, Elk Valley, and Wynn. Enrollment is dropping, and to make some of the cuts, I was asked to show what you could strip the school system down to have the bare minimum. And to have the bare minimum, it made more sense to do split classes, which we did several years ago, and other school systems are doing now. I know they're doing that in Unicoi County. Other school systems are doing that. They suffered flooding. Many people left the area, so enrollment dropped, and they're having to look at options like that as well. It's not the ideal option, but it's, when we're having to make cuts, it's difficult to justify a teacher with 5 students being paid the same as a teacher with 25 students. And you can combine 2 classes and still have less than 25 and do that and accomplish the same thing with 1 teacher. So that's how those savings were viewed. Yes.
What's the limit of parentheses?
If we combined those, that was just
Like 1, 2, grade
That's
1,
just-
2,
yes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
yes. And the reason it's, if you look up here at this top one where it says 7, 8, we're looking at the current numbers, but that's the projected next year's class size, which would be 25, 26. Crystal, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Finished. Okay, you had your AirPods in. I didn't know if you could hear me.
No.
Okay.
But the thing about splitting classes is it's very concerning with the level of responsibility put on one teacher for 2 class levels.
Yes.
I went and cut just some ideas throughout there and had the numbers ran up on a different thing, for everybody to look at.
If you don't mind, pass them down.
The green is just what I presented. I think the white is what you used. I just added some things. And again, just ideas, some of it amounts to some savings, some of it doesn't really amount to a lot, but just as another.
Now, can I ask this one thing, Crystal? Like on the instructional coaches here, I think, like, those are gonna be moved into the Title II, correct?
Which ones
Like
is
Christy Llewellyn.
Yes, yeah, I don't know what program this is, so yes,
Yeah.
those are,
It's like,
that? Which ones are going to Title II?
like, 18.
18.
Yeah. Let's see. 29.
So the ones in green are the ones you're suggesting, is that correct?
That was just some numbers I had Mr. Marlowe run up, just as some alternatives.
And I think number 39, is that right, Jennifer?
39.
As far as
let's
the
see.
instructional coaches.
yes.
Like 8, let's see here, 7, let's see, 18, 29, 39. What must be in Title II, I guess.
It'll,
I guess
since,
replacing.
it's gonna take me a second since I haven't seen this, let me,
So you're suggesting assistant principals that we're cutting several of those?
No, not cutting them, just taking them back a month.
Oh, taking them back to
Yeah,
months.
yeah. And again, that's not a lot of savings, so, you know. It was just things, ideas I had that we'd had back in 2018 when we was facing a 1.8. That was some things we had talked about then, and I think we actually cut some assistants back in 2018 when we were at that $1.8 million shortfall. And we got them back the last few years.
I don't see Becky Cox on this, she would be the
Oh,
one
she
that
was
is
on
in
here,
the
it's
second.
number 29.
Multiple questions.
Okay.
One, is
Go ahead.
this, or all this green in addition to what Director
Yeah, I
Fields,
left Director Fields alone.
or interchangeable?
Yeah.
Either?
I went in and got, looked at the instructional coaches that I found that weren't on the original list, and that's here. And,
I'll tell you my thinking behind the question.
okay.
I oppose any kind of combining classes. I think that's a terrible idea. I don't support that. So when you look at these things in green, if you've got 10 positions that you can move from 12-month to 11-month, and you can get, you know, or 12 positions, and you get a year that you can fund a teacher out of those months, or multiple teachers, I'd be open to using that, because that's going to supplement, right? That's going to make up for a position. But now, is there any kind of drawback from that 12-month to a 11 or a 12 to a 10? They lose any kind of insurance, they lose any kind of benefit, or is it just salary? Is it just money? And then,
I think.
It's running summer school, it's running schedules, it's preparing for the next year. I don't know how the schools with 11-month principals would, 12-month principals would drop down to 11, and same with going from 11 months to 10 months. With Campbell Elementary School being one of our largest elementary schools, I simply do not know how Ms. Milton would.
And that, again, that's just,
Okay.
What's the savings on that? I mean,
your 35 is 10,697.63 each school. But your high school is just 37,58.63.
so you're looking at total of,
Again, it's probably 60 total, 60K total.
all the green is 60.
No, just those, and that's why I said, you know, we paid, and again, when I put these numbers out, I had no idea what it was gonna be.
Crystal, how many
many instructional or academic coaches does that leave? Because I thought they were all getting cut, but then you just mentioned,
At
Jamie
least
mentioned
4.
one, so.
It's where we've got 4 instructional, correct me if I'm wrong on this. We have 4 instructional coaches that are paid out of the 142.
So they're all not getting cut, correct?
No, just the 141.
That's the one, that they're not in the 141. There's 4 instructional coaches.
So there's 4 that are not getting cut, correct?
Yes, I guess,
It is.
yes.
And
I thought that was a transfer to 141 fund in the classroom position on the 4 transfers from the federal.
No, they're not. Do you say Jessica Crowley, because she is the 4?
she wasn't in one, I strictly looked at 141. These
Oh,
were still
okay.
right to 141. I
Okay.
didn't look at 142.
Okay, because she's the 4th one.
Because we'll have to, I think we come back Tuesday and do 142.
She's not in the, well, she's not in the instructional on 142 there, down here at the bottom.
No, no.
Okay.
No, because her name didn't show up either being moved from 141 to 142 at all. These are just the ones that were in 141.
Okay.
The only ones that show up down here are the ones going from 142 to the 141 because it increased the budget of the 141, right?
Yes, it increased
These are the increases that are moving from
federal to GP.
federal to GP.
Cost the GP a little bit
Right.
on those transfers.
Right.
Ms. Creekmore, I've got 2 questions. So I think we're all clear, nobody on this Board of Education wants any school closures. We do not want that, period, full stop, end of discussion. Moving forward, I hate the concept of combining classrooms. I don't know what we do, and especially at some of our smaller schools, we want to protect those smaller schools. If we get down and a grade has 2 students, can we justify paying a teacher to educate 2 students, or 5, or 10? And this board needs to figure out some type of formula where we can separate, passion from logic and logically say, hey, when a classroom gets to 7 students, at that point we have to look at combining or whatever. I don't know how we have those conversations to make sure that every student in our system is well taken care of, but that's a conversation that this board as a whole needs to have. Richard, I have a question for you. We as a Board of Education, so everybody knows in here, we all get paid to serve on this board. We as a Board of Education by state law cannot lower our compensation. Ms. Creekmore has picked out $60,000 in cuts here. I would be willing to donate 100% of my compensation, which is $6,000 a year, back to the school system. If all 10 of us would be willing to do that, that's $60,000 back in our school's pocket. We don't have to worry about making some of these cuts. How could we do that? If the entire board would agree.
Board action to that effect. We have had a board member in the past that contributed back to the school system. I'd have to look and I'd have to research it and see if it has to be paid out to the individual and then returned to the school system.
For sure.
Or if it can be deducted from the paycheck and retained in the 141 fund.
Yeah, I already donate 100% of my compensation back to cheer teams and volleyball and whatever else, but I'd be glad to cut back on that to make sure that we're not cutting into the livelihood. I mean, folks, you all got to realize our principals and administrators are already receiving lower compensation than other districts in our area. I think we've got some of the finest teachers and administrators in the region, and if we cut their pay more, we're going to lose these folks, and that really concerns me.
Yeah, they'll still
Also, the proposal doesn't have student grades in it.
The wide open.
The White Oak does, Del Valley did.
Ms. Fields, isn't the retention coordinator required to stay?
The retention coordinator is not required by state, but I am adding her to be the ABC since we're having to do our own insurance now. So, and the state says a district our size requires 1 full-time and 1 part-time. So I will add that to that person, and then another staff member upstairs will be the part-time.
A moment ago, you was mentioning 141 and 142 fund. So in that, is there any additional funds to maybe supplement to keep these positions viable, although not from the general fund? Right? Can we use those funds to pay teachers so that these teachers
That
they
is
don't lose it?
supplanting.
That is.
That would be supplanting. You can't do that. Supplement, not supplant.
Is there additional roles that you could use that 141 to pay and move the money from there, from that role, to pay a teacher?
I'm not following which,
Say that you said a teacher can't be paid out of the 141. Can a secretary?
a
Can a secretary's
teacher
money?
can be paid out of 141.
Then
And
I'm
what,
missing.
well, I guess a good question is does White Oak have any teachers paid with their Title I funds? I guess.
I don't know how much Title I funds they receive. You have to receive a certain amount to have school funds available.
But in the case that they have those funds, they can pay a teacher out of those funds,
They
correct?
can.
Do we have that amount or an estimated amount?
I would have to get that from the federal programs director, who is not here. But most of the schools utilize their Title I money to pay a staff member. They already do that. Is that not correct, Richard?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. It's a mixture of personnel and non-personnel.
Okay.
Instructional supplies, materials, and equipment.
So I guess your question is what's paid out of Title I and White Oak?
Yes,
Okay.
but we don't have that, right?
Right.
And what they have received historically and what they are projected to receive.
And it's usually based on your student enrollment. The more students you have, the more federal funds you receive.
Okay.
And for instance, I know Ms. Lay, last year, she did not receive any Title I funds.
Yeah, we have more students.
You get it back next year?
Yeah.
That's good. Now, can you pay a teacher out of your Title I funds? You
No.
don't get enough to pay?
No, I can't pay an assistant out of my title funds.
You pay 2 assistants,
They're in basic skills.
3 months.
They are in basic skills.
Title I, that title?
Yeah. We have in past paid assistants out of title, but it dropped each year down to where we got down to one assistant being paid out title until we just weren't Title I school anymore.
It's great, Mark.
One other thought that I had is, as we go through and we look at this budget process, we're obviously going to have to move some tenured teachers into the places of those non-tenured teachers. And those non-tenured teachers may not have a job in our system, depending on retirements, et cetera. I don't know, Richard, how you would structure it. You probably have more knowledge on this than I do. I know for an early retirement incentive, we already offer paying for the insurance, et cetera. My thought is I would also be in favor of dipping into fund balance and offering an extra financial bonus to teachers that may be at the end and ready to retire. For example, I was talking to an educator the other day. She said she has her years in, but she plans to hold out for maybe 2 or 3 more years. My thought is, why not offer that teacher some type of financial incentive to go ahead and early or retire now that they have the years in. One, the compensation for a brand new teacher is going to be slightly lower. And then 2, we're going to be able to retain that new young talent that we have. Is that something that this board could consider, Richard?
At one point in the past, and I forget what year it was, the board did offer a retirement incentive payment. Could you do it from equity as a one-time recurring, non-recurring cost? I would say the answer to that would be yes. However, the plans that are before you, Jennifer's as well as Crystal's, both meet your funding level requirements.
And even with the funding level requirements, again, my concern is we've got a bunch of newer, younger, incredible teachers throughout our system at every school. I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose those teachers to Anderson County or Claiborne County or Scott County or Knox County or wherever. If we have an opportunity to say, hey, Sharon, I know you're at the end of your career, you could have retired 3 years ago, but you're still hanging on, we love you, but here's X amount of dollars, and that way we can retain somebody. That seems like a no-brainer to me.
Except new teachers are getting paid, their pay's gone up.
Yeah.
You know,
So
there
the-
used to be a bigger difference on the pay.
It's not going to be quite
Not
substantial.
done as quite, but it's an idea.
But my thought process isn't just for, the cost savings would be minuscule.
Yeah.
My concern is the talent savings.
The last time they did that, Richard, how many teachers went ahead and retired when you gave that incentive?
That's when Bob Holder retired. When Bob Holder retired, because that's why he retired. That's why he retired, to get that one grand. I think they gave him 10,000.
Was it 10,000?
I believe.
Again, of course, it'd be optional, is my thought.
I don't think he did anything else, that was their insurance is already being paid for 10 years, we done that in 2018.
Question about this, we received CTE funds this
Yes.
last couple of years, didn't we?
Yes, we have.
For middle schools and for both
And
high
high
schools.
Yes,
And I assume that's where the CTE career coaches came from? or-
it is. Well,
I
that came
think
from the
I think that's
ISM
paid out
grant.
of a grant, though.
Yeah,
It came
that's
from the
a,
ISM grant.
that's a
Yes.
grant
No, they moved from the grant to regular instruction program.
this year, or coming next year,
Last year.
last year. Okay,
But
so
was
they
that not
already-
because they asked us to move, okay, because Department of Finance asked us to move them so we didn't have split funds?
Correct.
Okay, so
And
that
this
still is
year,
covered
I
in
was
grant.
gonna put them back on the budget for the ISM grant,
For next year?
for the, yes.
So that, they're still on that grant?
Not presently, they were on it until this school year. They went to the 141 for this
So
school
then they go
year.
back on the grant?
So I've checked,
Because I thought they were on the grant the whole time.
no, I will, when I do my application this year, I was gonna put them back on
Because
there.
I thought that grant was
So
for like
does the
3 years.
ISM grant pay,
Four
But they've
years.
added a fifth.
Okay. Well,
So there's two positions there.
are they full funding?
It'll
With
be,
ISM?
it's a, like a step down every year. This year would be 75% because they had already paid.
This year, or the year we're talking about, 25, 26?
Yes.
okay.
So they would pay 75, we would pay 25.
So I think that's not really any savings there.
And this is not much, but TISA allocation increased today with the new May estimate that came out, $37,712.
How much, 37?
$37,712.
So I think Ms. Bolton does a great job over at Jellicoe.
Ms. Lowertini does great at Campbell County too.
Yes, she does.
So,
Ms. Leaks is the only one I can speak for, I see her, so.
So you've got $37,000 more.
Yes.
Did that not put some assistant principals back for a month? How many months can we go? Are they saying $3,700? Is that what you're saying, it costs them a month? Add that?
And Richard, what's the exact number? I know we say 2.1, but do we know down to the penny exactly what we're looking at?
We've been using the 2.1 number. I don't know. With the changes in medical insurance, that was a recent change. That number has changed some. It's still around 2.1, 2.2. And as I said earlier, either plan or a combination of plans that are before you would get you there and beyond.
And Director, on option number 4,
Yes.
it says 2.4 estimated, but 2.2 actual. But we're just looking at 2.1.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
Well, meeting before last, I was asked to strip it down to cut it 2.8 million.
Okay.
So I could only get as low as 2.4, but those were just guesstimates because I don't have access to actual numbers. So I just guessed at roundabout figures, and when I sent it over, that's what it ended up equaling. When I sent it over to finance.
2.2.
Yes.
Gotcha. I mean, Madam Chair, my thought process is if we've got to eliminate 2.1, and we've got a plan 4 that's going to put us at 2.28, but we just got $30,000 more, that's going to put us at 2.3. That gives us $200,000 additional. I would advocate that the board needs to go through and we need to each look at what we would like to do with that $200,000 and what positions are most important to us, and then move forward.
And if, I would like to add, if we looked at the budget that I had, the cuts that were made, and if we are at, what was that number? There is 2.282, and we only need 2.1, then we could look at giving teachers back to the schools that we're gonna have to do split classes.
Yes.
I was just told, cut as much as you possibly can, so I gave every option possible. And I've said every meeting, when we take away from our students, that is the last resort. That is the last thing. We're defeating the purpose that we're intended to serve. So I don't ever want to do that.
So to get to the 2.1 on your plan, let's see. Can add back.
It would be 4 split classes at White Oak, 2 split at Caryville, and 1 split at Wynn.
What's the cost of that?
Well, it would vary.
I don't
Richard
think you
would
need a
have.
Carol, I think you need a Valley.
Oh, yeah, we're not split at Elk Valley. Okay.
You had April over there had a heart attack. This is 146.
And it's so tiny.
That's 75.25 on your grant. Roughly what is that?
I can't remember what their salaries,
So the
Or-
district would be responsible for 25% of their salary?
it's like divided up, actually even by school, a percentage.
So to get estimate, we could take their salaries and back out 25%.
Madam Chair, you've got like the CTE career coach here at Campbell County High School.
That's what
Total,
we're talking about.
yes ma'am. And so 25% of that would be roughly 18.5 that we're responsible for.
Less than 20,000.
Yeah, I think it would be silly to eliminate those positions, especially both of our CTE career coaches do
Well,
an exceptional job.
One thing we have to consider, we committed to a 3-year grant based on the commitment that we were going to do that. And they granted us the funds, so we can't now say we've changed our mind.
Those grants are very, you have to follow them to the letter.
And they wrote like in the goals, like what you plan to achieve with their hire.
Crystal, we're meeting again on
We'll need to
Tuesday.
move, yeah, we'll recess and meet on Tuesday, 142 and 143.
Because so we can have all of the, I guess, the 142 budget, the numbers there. And
Is that what you were given not long ago?
yeah, but correct. I don't think it was all there. There were some, I think there were some things missing. To kind of give an idea. Because I know that,
Is that the 3rd? June 3rd?
I guess because I know that on yours, Crystal,
Yeah.
because where was that? You were looking at, the way you were looking, I guess number 36, central office, as far as that goes.
Yes, I've got that marked to go to a,
You got the
that's one of the
attendance supervisor to 10, and then, I guess my question is, do we need a full-time and this comes from Title I, so this will not come out of general, but full-time, Title I.
Coordinator?
Yeah.
We do
No,
not have.
supervisor.
We do not have a full-time.
Yeah, I know. Do we need a full-time?
We did during ESSER, when we were bombarded,
Well,
but.
I understand that, but we've always had one. Up until this past year, we've always had full-time Title I. And I think that's important. And is that, and I'm just throwing this out there, if we had a full-time, because I know Pam's 120 day,
Yes.
and she's retired. Let's say, I'm going to throw Sandy under the bus over there.
You like to do that, Jane, don't you?
But what I'm saying is kind of like with, where you can save some money, like with the third grade retention coordinator, which is, I don't know how much Allison even makes. But let's just say we moved Sandy into full-time title with that. And we moved Allison into attendance supervisor at 10 months and let her keep the third grade coordinator, and then cut or abolish the,
Vacant position.
yeah. So
Okay,
that would make
who
a
is
teaching
going to
position.
be our AB, now that we've taken on the insurance responsibility, who is going to do that for us? Because, I mean, with our staff,
Who does that now?
finance,
Will they not continue to do that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
they're not
Is that-
continuing to do that.
However, the new finance director might.
Well, that's true.
But I'm just thinking that, I mean, that's a teaching position.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just throwing, and these are just ideas to throw out there. Sandy may throw me under the bus over there.
Well, my concern is attendance is a full-time supervisor job for a reason. It's a state law, because she has to be in court, she has to serve papers. Attendance is one of the accountability measures where we receive a majority of our funding. And there's a lot of oversight. We have to make sure that we're getting our kids in school, because that's also funding coming our way.
Director, during our data presentations earlier in the year, every single principal said that one of their top problems, if not their top problem, was chronic absenteeism. And I think it's silly for us to even consider cutting the person who holds folks accountable for absenteeism. I mean, that makes no sense. When principals come and say, this is my number one problem, and we're looking at taking away resources from solving that problem.
I mean,
silly.
that, like
So let's say
Sarah,
we keep it at 12 months. We don't even have to keep it at 10 months. We can stay at 12
well,
months.
state law, I mean, if it's a supervisor, it has to be 12 months, correct, Richard?
No.
The board hasn't adopted the salary schedule for 11-month supervisors. So all the
I think,
supervisors-
But currently, is it not, are we not required that supervisors are 12 months?
No.
Well, now, the conversation that we
I know
had the
we
other
had
day
that,
with Richard,
but
I was
looked at
told,
the
yes.
policy, and I think it was 5.1 something, where you can prorate
Okay, because
supervisor.
I will say
Is
right
that
now,
right?
I can do some additional research on that.
But I think,
My understanding
That's
was
what
that
it
the
was.
board would have to adopt a salary schedule for 11 months.
okay, because when I asked you, Richard, Sandy wanted to be 11 months, and she was told, no, you have to be 12 months. Allison was told she had to be an additional month, and Ernie Clausen was 10 months, and he was told he had to be 11 months. So they wanted to have a reduced schedule, but they were told, no, you have to work additional time.
well, there's a policy, and I can't remember the number exactly, but it was 5.1 something, and it has to do with supervisors and prorating the pay that I found.
That is active now?
Yes, it's active now. I would pull it up on my phone, but it won't let me pull it up on my phone. But, see if you can pull it up.
But, and I do want to say this, which I know Crystal and Jeffrey and Jeff had sent Mary Ann Dursky an email asking about the required positions, things like that. And in my response to her, for a district our size, we have the smallest central office staff there is. And let's say, for instance, Sarah is over technology. She's the supervisor of technology. She spends her entire day working on technology, installation, repairs. and updating the data and the information in our system and reporting to the state. So a lot of times you see these things and you think, oh, they don't have a lot to do, but they're full-time jobs. That's why they're required supervisory positions recognized by the Tennessee Department of Education. So to add additional supervisor roles on that, such as Tracy Chambers, who is transportation, maintenance, and CTE, Tracy works long into the late evening. Okay, because I just go by, and I don't know in a situation like that, because that's also come into question. Do we follow the Department of Finance policies, or do they follow ours since they are our fiscal office? Because I've had that question.
I don't think we follow Campbell County Board of Education policy. I would-
The Board of Education sets the policy.
I do have a question.
Yes.
You said that we have the smallest central office staff for a district of our size.
Yes.
And so in comparison, what do those other numbers look like?
Oh, well,
A lot more.
if we look at
I think a lot
Anderson
more.
County, they have this many people in their in-house finance office alone.
I could see that, but that's also two different things, right? 'Cause like
No,
we-
they have sent, they have,
That's it, yeah.
They do their
centralized,
finances
yes.
their own. I would think it would be an accurate statement to say that there's more people working in central office now than probably ever before.
What are you basing that on?
I've just, do you feel
No,
like that's
the only,
accurate?
no, not at all. The only person that has been added, we had a attendance coordinator, and state law changed, so Sandy became the supervisor instead of coordinator. And then we added one additional staff member, and that was Allison Poston, who was the third grade retention promotion. She's the one who oversees the organization of summer school, dyslexia screening, and all the third grade retention and tutoring.
That's since COVID, it's been added.
Right,
That's
so
where all that
if
comes
we,
about.
if we went back like 2020, we have more people or less people now?
We have one more,
And we also have less students.
Yeah, but Mr. Cummings.
but we have more
The
requirements.
third grade retention law has taken effect since
Yes.
2020.
But is that full-time?
Well, she's
Yes.
all, yeah, in addition to the dyslexia screenings and others. And I agree, I understand your concern. I don't want you to feel like I'm diminishing that at all.
Did you find that? It was 5.1101.
Yes. You got to read it.
You've seen it.
I can get it to you.
No, yeah, I saw it. I got it.
I'm glad you knew the exact number because I was scrolling through all this looking.
Madam Chair, just to clarify, the director's proposal is 2.282 million, correct?
Correct.
Your proposal saves 2.71 million, correct?
Roughly.
Roughly?
After you consider the transfer from Title 2,662,000.
2.66?
Yeah, second page.
Now, Richard, in the 2.66 would get us closer to a true balance, not using the debt service, right?
It would.
Because everybody needs to understand, I keep going back to 2.8, there's 550,000 of fund balance being used to pay a debt service right off the bat. So that's going to automatically go to next year as a debt. You're going to start July 1st with 550,000 in the hole, building this problem over again. So that's the difference in them. To me, it's 2.66 gets us closer to a true balance versus the 2.282. So that's two differences there.
And if I made the total going to debt service from equity is $1,020,000.
Over 2 years. 1 year. Okay. So if the concern is the teacher positions at the combining of classes, if you've got 2.282 million and you've got 37,000 coming into the bank from TISA today, in theory, wouldn't you have enough to kind of put them positions back if Plan 4 is approved?
Can you repeat that?
If Plan 4 is approved at 2.82 million, or 2.282 million, and a teacher position is what, 80,000 on average? And you're needing 2 positions at Elk Valley and I think 1 back at White Oak, at least 1, then would Plan 4 not suffice to get there?
It would be very close. 180 plus 30 would get you to 210. It'd be close.
Those salaries of those 3 teachers from Title II is paid.
Pardon?
Those coaches that are going to Title II.
If they go to Title II.
So let me just be clear. Under Ms. Creekmore's proposed plan, not only are we eliminating an assistant principal at Campbell County High School, which already has the highest principal to student ratio in the county. So not only are we taking away one of theirs, but then we're also going to ask or force 2 of their assistant principals to go down from 12-month employees to 11-month employees?
That motion's not on the table.
But that's your plan though, correct, Ms. Creekmore?
Correct, but we just discussed
Yeah.
that.
I mean, losing an assistant principal to Campbell County High
The
School is a huge
savings
blow to
isn't-
them already.
It's not
However,
enough savings to
It's not
matter.
enough savings to
Yeah.
matter.
So you can just,
So you can
just
just
point it.
kind of.
just take it out.
do
It's
that.
just something to put in,
Yeah,
just scrap it.
and this
There's
was
not enough
just
savings
everything
to-
we could come up with. But
See, it would be
Mr.
like those
Miller-
assistants, there's not enough savings there, Brandon. And then when you go down, like, take for instance, you go down now to the CTE career coaches.
Right.
That's a grant.
yes.
So scratch that. You see what I'm saying?
This is showing every.
This is just showing every
savings
possibility you
that
could do.
That could possibly happen.
Yeah,
In a
see what I'm
dire
saying?
situation.
If that makes sense.
Oh, I understand.
You see what I mean?
Well, and I'm against eliminating an assistant principal at Campbell County High School. And moreover, I'm also against decreasing any of their salaries from 12-month to 11-month when their peers in other counties are
Well,
already
and
making
that's
more
not gonna
money.
happen. That's just showing that, this is just showing what
So
you
we're
could
not
do.
going to
No.
eliminate an assistant principal at Campbell County High
Well,
School?
no, the green.
Okay, we're not going to reduce them. Gotcha.
No, because the other one's in the director's plan. See what I'm saying?
This plan does.
Right.
Yeah,
But we're still losing 2 teachers.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect.
Let's get back to the committee, these people, and crack this up. So, Frank,
Just very quickly, fundamentally, from the beginning, my concern is, not only the 2.1 million this year, which is truly 2.8, as Jeffrey mentioned, is it's rolling in, that's gonna roll into next year. Guys, I think we have a much bigger problem than what this is addressing. So, I'm a no vote on either of these. One is either because there's some cuts there that I don't want to see happen. I don't want to see any of them happen, howbeit. Because, I feel like every step here is taking us back on the education side of it. And I don't like that. That's not our goal is to have better grades and give our children the best academic opportunity possible. But, I don't want to be sitting here next year minus 1.5 million, and I know that's just in theory, but we will definitely be sitting at minus 1.5 million. I think we need an option that, and maybe a third party could help us achieve that, because, if there's a third party that could evaluate our system and give us an option that, hey, help us out with, where we can make cuts and where we need to make cuts. And what are the best options? Where are our true expenses? Because, I'll just be honest with you. I've been on the board 3 years, and, the financial report is a mystery to me, because, and it's not because I believe that they're trying to hide anything from me. It's a lot of information, and I can't see all the numbers and where the expenditures are and exactly what they are, you know. And I understand that's the true numbers, and I'm not trying to slight anyone at the finance department or by any means in any way. I would just like to see something that offers a solution that's a permanent solution that we can then work back and hopefully add back to it in the future. And that's all I have to say about it.
I think we've been quoted as saying we've been throwing money to the wind.
Well, it was like winning the lottery, and we did run through it because we received millions of dollars and we had 3 years to spend it.
Yes.
So
And you were told how to spend it.
I was told there's 4 categories you can spend it in. 20% had to go to directly toward learning loss, and you know, we wanted our students to reap the benefits of it instead of us just doing HVAC and roofs on buildings that had not yet reached their full lifespan.
And part of our HVAC, and that one of the things we borrowed the money on?
It was, and even I said with that,
So here we are.
Valley View is still 3 years life left on theirs.
So why couldn't we cut that? Are we already doing it? It's already been done. It's already done, okay. That would be a savings of how much? How much would it save us? We had 3 more years to go with it.
And I'll echo Mr. Heatherly's sentiments. I mean, if we do pass something, it's just a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, right? And we've got bigger problems coming over the next few years. I do think this board needs to maybe look at tapping fund balance as well to hire a consulting firm to come in and help us look through these numbers and make strategic recommendations of what we can do long-term to make sure that every child in this community and in this county, every child has equal opportunity for success. Because, folks, what we're doing doesn't seem to be working. And I think there's a dozen factors of why. But maybe if we bring out a third party with fresh eyes who's a professional at this type of stuff more than any of us are, maybe we can find a solution.
We haven't discussed bus routes. You know, we saved $100,000, we wound up putting them back in slowly. But at one point, we had, if we looked at that, we hired a professional to come in and go through it. And they cut out all this, and we wound up, I'm pretty sure, going back to having them all back.
And if enrollment's down.
And if
there should be
enrollment's
fewer
down, then that should
students.
be a place maybe theirs could be cut. And I know they don't want to lose their jobs either, I understand that.
If it's $100,000 though, that's one position in this office instead of a fleet of buses that provide transportation to kids all throughout the county.
I would like to add that I really appreciate Ms. Creedmoor, all the work that you put in, and Ms. Fields, the work you put in, and the entire board. I really appreciate that effort. And I understand we're under a time constraint as well. And if this board chose to do something temporary, I could probably, you know, relate to that and agree with that to some portion, as long as there was a permanent plan in place to prevent, you know, us from being back in this position again. And I understand that it's going to be a lot of change, whatever it may be, and you know, I don't like that any more than anyone else. But you know, when it comes down to balancing the budget, we only have so much money to work with, and you know, our undesignated fund balance doesn't need to be drained as well. We have a lot to plan for in the future, and that's a one-time solution.
Wouldn't the CPA kind of be able to help with that, the in-house finance person?
No, this is more logistics, it's long-term, it's buildings, it's based on each individual site. I think it would be someone who would come in and do a total assessment, a needs assessment of the district.
With a fresh set of eyes. And just like Randy was saying, I think I could support something that would short-term get us where we need to be if we can figure out some long-term plans. And I don't know what those look like, but I think tapping some experts would be helpful. And I think at the end of the day, this is all tough for us, right? I mean, nobody is going to walk away from this getting everything that they want. Everybody's going to have to make sacrifices. Every school is, every district is. This is not going to be great. We just need to make sure those are equitable across our district and try to minimize the damage to our students as much as possible. And I think that's what we all want.
Back to what we were saying. We got, how much more, did you say?
$37,712.
Okay, and there's 3 on this list that are going into Title II, whatever, Title I, Title, whatever they're going into.
Title II.
So that's 3. And then the other 2 coaches are 75, 25. Did you come up with Jamie? Did you come up with a number?
No, because I wasn't doing anything.
Three instructional coaches and then the final 2 athletic coaches and 75, 25.
Right.
So roughly 125. 125.
But you add.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we consider hiring a third-party consulting firm for the next year, not this current year, for the next year, to help us, evaluate and address our needs and our concerns, and give us their opinion, a third party that is professionals.
I like that idea, but I think we need to put it on the June agenda instead of, because, is that right, Bill? Because it's just budget. Yeah, you want to add that to the June?
Because this is workshop specific.
This is-
It would come out of here and go before the full board anyway, so we can do it on the, we can put it on the June agenda, if you want to do that.
Is that something commonly used by school systems, Mr. Heatherly?
Excuse me?
Is that something commonly used by school systems? Is there, like, do some of our neighbors have something that they use and say, hey, you know, this has worked for us in our strategic planning and our long-term, and what is the cost of the product or a service like that?
I think if we research that, Brian, and that, we'll definitely find out that there are other systems that have done that and are doing that.
And we've done it before with our buses. We had a consulting firm come in and do that.
I mean, it's a $50 million budget, we're approaching it, so I think it, you know, so, I mean, I think it would be a fair thing to do. I think if we could agree to do that, I think it would help us to move forward with taking care of addressing this year and what's facing us this year.
So you want to add that to, add that to the June agenda?
So we can't do it as an addendum to,
Well, the agenda's not been made yet.
Hey, Ms. Stephen.
You just added it.
Be added as an addendum to the emergency meeting.
Go ahead, Steve. That's at your all's discretion, but I'd like to do a little research on that. I'd like to see what our neighboring counties are using and the cost, because at the end of it, this is taxpayer funding, and we want to be an excellent
Well-
steward of taxpayer funding.
Not everyone uses one. I mean, it's based on your needs. Some use it if they're building a new school building. They'll consult with it. They're just consulting firms.
I think it's not going around anyway, so we still can add to it.
Because that next week.
So that would put it,
And you can't do it now. Because- And we're going to recess. We haven't. Yes. So.
want to make a motion to recess?
Well, we can't until she does her second item.
Oh.
You want to do with this 325, you want us to do option 4? And put the savings back in, the savings that we've identified here, put them back in.
So make a motion for option 4.
Take a motion to approve option 4.
Is that minus the split classes?
That's my question.
That's my question. Do we, minus the split classes,
Well, 324, so whatever,
Yeah.
assuming that this is all accurate, the
Right.
324, eliminating as many split classes as you can.
go in and look and see how many we can eliminate or whatever, as far as split classes go.
You won't know till they actually appear in class next year. You don't know how many there are gonna be, there may be 2 and
We've
maybe
got
5.
we've got a rough estimate.
Yeah, we're gonna have to estimate anyway.
Because we'll have to go on that, because we can't wait till school starts.
No, we can't.
Sure can't. So,
Okay, so your motion is option 4 minus the split classes.
Eliminating the split classes as an option.
yes, is an option.
So is that just to bring that before the full board? Is that what we're doing?
Yes,
Gonna present that?
yeah, yeah, just out of committee.
But we still don't have really accurate amounts, do we?
Yeah,
So we're guessing still at this.
So we're still working with some numbers.
I think so.
No concrete.
It's not, it's nothing concrete yet.
And we'll be in recess, so it can be with that, make the motion, and then I'll second the motion. Okay. On the roll. Okay, the motion is to go with option 4, with the elimination of split classes.
Creekmore?
Yes. And this is to go before the full board, correct? Cummings,
Yes.
Fields,
Yes.
Heatherly,
No.
Rodner,
No.
Wheeler.
Yes.
4 yes to no. Next item, discuss and consider one-time bonus for the voucher resolution. Ms. Fields?
We adopted the voucher resolution last month. It was uploaded into E-Plan. The state has generated a list for every teacher who is under the teacher category in TN Compass. They will be eligible for a $2,000 bonus. And I have verified those rosters. We will submit that to the state tomorrow, and we will just have to agree that we will accept the funding for the teachers who are eligible. Principals are not eligible, administrators are not eligible, and staff members who do not work directly with students and are not under the teacher evaluation rubric are not eligible.
So we just need to, how do you want us to do?
Well, it does, we agreed actually that
Yeah,
with the resolution, that is what we were agreeing to do, was accept that. The reason it was brought up was any discussion that the board would want to extend that to
the ones that
anyone
didn't
else
fall.
outside of the, yes.
So your principals, supervisors?
No, they're not eligible at all. School nutrition staff are not eligible. No one else in the school system is eligible except those that fall under the teacher
Right.
rubric or evaluation rubric. But some surrounding districts are taking it out of fund balance to give a bonus to everyone, which is what we did year before last or last year at Christmas when we did a one-time bonus. We've done that before. Given the situation that we're in financially, that's a difficult thing to do, but I just wanted to at least bring that to everyone's attention that some districts are doing it, and I didn't want you to think that I had just withheld that information from you. I didn't want our teachers to hear that everyone in another county all got a bonus and we didn't, when the reality is the state sends us the money for the bonus if you meet certain criteria.
But it doesn't send it if you don't meet
No.
certain criteria.
No.
So the only thing we voted on is for what the state.
Yes, it is. So there's no need for any action. It was just for discussion. If you all are okay with that, I will verify those numbers tomorrow, and we will proceed with that once the state sends that money
I
in.
would love to give everybody that works for us a bonus, but we're trying to save jobs right now.
We all would, I know that.
So,
And I know the teachers understand that as well.
okay, so I just need we will adjourn, or recess until next Tuesday. Start the
Some districts that
Well, we already did.
recess till 5 o'clock on Tuesday, at which time we will take up the 142 and 143 funds. Okay. Now, shall we do Mr. Miller's?
Yeah, ready? Tell me when.
I will.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. This is a special call to merchant meeting to discuss the situation surrounding the MOU. Ms. Parks, will you call the roll?
Creekmore. Here. Cummins.
Here.
Fields. Here. Heatherly.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lastly.
Here.
Lester.
Here.
Rodney.
Here.
Wheeler. Here. Miller.
Here. Just real quickly, this is to discuss and take any necessary action to appoint the Director of Schools as fiscal officer for the LEA. We are hoping that will suffice the Benefits Administration's criteria to get this signed, sealed, and delivered. Is there any questions before I offer a motion?
My only question, Mr. Chair, is I already asked Director Fields, but she said that Dale Cantrell, our attorney, said this was acceptable. Do we think that we need to pause and ask the Comptroller's office to make sure that this is fully acceptable in the eyes of the Comptroller?
I'm comfortable with it.
Richard, what are your thoughts? You're the financial guru.
I think if you appoint her as the fiscal officer, then you do, and hopefully that will meet the requirements of what Benefits Administration is looking at.
And then we'll know soon. And then if they don't accept it, I'll be calling you back for another. Okay?
As long as we're comfortable that we're not going to have no issue with the Comptroller's office, that's my only concern.
My concern prior was that we would do it as a temporary action
Okay.
and then change it, because that does not seem very ethical.
Right.
So I did not feel comfortable doing that. I am more comfortable doing this and assuming that role, because it is just acting as a liaison between the LEA and the finance department. And I have no fiscal capabilities here in this office because I have no access to any accounting software or any finance program. So it would be strictly communication. I'm comfortable with doing that, and I'm more than willing to do it if it's going to ensure that our employees have peace of mind that their health insurance is not in jeopardy of being taken away.
Great.
And I'll add, the Director of Schools will be responsible for facilitating communication and coordination between the school system and the county finance and ensuring the accurate and timely submission of financial documents, contracts, and reports. This designation is necessary to maintain the continuity of financial operations and ensure timely execution of required fiscal agreements, including the memorandum of understanding for employee health insurance. Any more discussion?
And we have spoken with Dale, our lawyer,
Yes.
and this does not alter, breach, or modify any contract existing with our director, and we owe no additional compensation or
Myself, the director, and Dale have talked on this.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not seeking any, I'm not doing it for extra money.
Any more questions?
Move to
I'm
approve.
going to read the motion.
Okay.
Motion will be to authorize the Board of Education to authorize the Director of Schools to temporarily serve as the fiscal officer for the school system. This position will act solely as the liaison between the LEA and the County Finance Department under the governance of the County Financial Management. I'll provide you a copy of that, Ms. Parks.
Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
I'll be glad to second.
Mr. Johnson, second. Any more discussion? Call the roll.
Creekmore. Yes. Cummins.
yes.
Fields.
Yes.
Heatherly.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Rodner.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
guys be willing to do an interview with me? It's a virtual one.